Hey everyone, welcome to Zeitgeist Zealots. I'm Forrest.
I'm Major.
I'm Robbie.
And today we're going to talk about the new She-Hulk. We're going to talk about the new Rings of Power.
There is a tempest in me. It swept me to this podcast, and it will not be quailed by you, Forrest.
Yeah, sorry, what were you saying? There was some sort of emotional tempest going on in House of the Dragon, I'm sure, and some sort of scientific tempest going on in Rick and Morty. Two shows I didn't watch this week, but y'all did. But let's talk about the ones I did watch. So She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I think this was the worst episode yet.
Nah, best episode yet.
Are you just a big Jamila Jamil? I mean, Jamila Jamal or Jamila Jamil?
I call her JJ.
Really JJ.
Yeah,
she's Spider-Man's boss. So, anyway,
no, she's the director of Lost.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's nice. Or the director of Star Wars, Star Trek, and he'll be rebooting something else sometime soon. Maybe he'll reboot.
Bad reboot. That's what his company should be called. That's a joke I stole off of Twitter like 1,000 years ago. Like it's been said 1,000 times, so there's really I don't know who to give credit to for that.
Well, I think not his deal with DC is it because I think he was going to do a Constantine show or Justice League Dark movie, and they just announced a new Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves.
All right, I mean, guys, I don't like to admit it often. Because you guys aren't my wife, but I'll do it. I'll do it here. I'll do it live on air. I'll do it to all the listeners. I was wrong. I was excited about Zaslav cutting and slashing dumb projects and trying to preserve the holy name that is Batman. But HBO cut the Caped Crusader, which for the listeners who don't know,
back, I think. Well, maybe like a few weeks, like the same week they cut Batgirl, I think.
Wow.
They canceled. They turned down Caped Crusader for HBO Max, but it might be going to Netflix or Hulu or probably Amazon. They're probably real hungry for content. Maybe even Peacock. Who has Peacock? Is it only for I think people who just like The Office have Peacock, right?
Pretty much.
Which is stupid because pretty much they have Office marathons on Comedy Central and Freeform all day.
Who has cable? Look at this boomer.
Well, I'm forced to have cable.
I know, yeah. HOAs suck. But speaking of suck, let's talk about She-Hulk.
Yeah, so Titania sued her for copyright infringement, and
yes.
She won because of her bad dates.
Yeah, they all talked about how she was She-Hulk.
Excuse me, she won from establishing a pattern of using the name She-Hulk before the trademark was established. I didn't know we were going to jump right into the end, but if we are, can I just point out that's not how the legal system works? This is a generation that grew up on Law and Order. It's not tit for tat. It's not the prosecutor show a video on YouTube and then the defense shows a video on YouTube. We all know this isn't how the legal system works. Why did they write this?
Let's just pray they don't make Jessica Gao the showrunner for Daredevil Born Again. Or we're all in a lot of trouble because that's gonna be like a lawyery show too. Although I think that last season he didn't do any lawyering except he faked being Foggy Nelson for an episode to go in the jail so they do that the fight scene. So I'm not sure about the legal comings and goings of copyright infringement, but it just seemed to me that of all the
whole thing's stupid. So I texted you guys this, there are a million, billion, bajillion crimes out there that these superheroes are committing or have been committed against. There are so many cool, fun, different things the writers could have done that she could have been defending in the courtroom, but instead we went with copyright infringement, and then the week before that Wong.
I mean, I can understand that for an established hero like Iron Man or Thor, because obviously we saw their t-shirts and stuff because they've been copyrighted by other people, but She-Hulk's brand new. She hasn't done anything. She's only been around for a minute, so
I'm sure Stark jumped on that copyright early.
I think this is Marvel's chance to have another Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness moment, where like you can throw in cameos of characters that you know you're never gonna fucking do in a movie or in a serious project, right? Like throw in Howard the Duck, right? Have She-Hulk have to defend Howard the Duck in some zany 30-minute trial case episode, right? Like that would be so much fun. But instead, like we're cutting lines like this. Like the main character is just not a likable person, right? Like
how funny would it be if Howard the Duck was being sued by Disney because he was too similar to Donald Duck?
See, this is meta, and she's meta, right? Like this would be fantastic. And like, look, I'm not saying we're writers. You're a writer. You're a fantastic writer. We might be doing another one of your scripts here in the future soon. But like, look, like how long did that brainstorming take? Less than 2 minutes, right?
Yeah,
we've already got better storylines.
Yeah, Feige, hire us. You know, we'll make the MCU great again. Yeah, so
I would make DC great again. We'll make Marvel great again.
We'll make the MCU great again.
Mama.
Yeah. What was I thinking of earlier? Werewolf by Night. Yeah. I think they released like a news bulletin or something saying like it's inspired by the Universal Studios movies, like the Mummy and the Wolfman, obviously.
Yeah, I could see
and,
that.
Just like the old classic movies.
Yeah, like
so
I love those.
The black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it funny that
just kind of
Marvel might be getting their own horror universe off the ground with Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider, Blade. Yeah.
I want to pronounce that a little bit better.
Horror universe. What's another one? The Darkhold Redeemers, maybe.
The Darkhold.
Just the Darkhold. I mean, Doctor Strange is sort of a horror character. I mean, that's sort of what Doctor Strange 2 was.
It could have been with Nightmare. It was just more Sam
the
Raimi.
Marvel horror universe, just like Doctor Strange, Werewolf by Night, and Ghost Rider on the corner, and like leggings and makeup.
Hey, I mean, like, look, if Doctor Strange is trying to destroy the dark hole, I'm okay with that. It's fun.
But yeah, they might be getting their own horror universe off the ground, and it's funny because Universal tried to get their own horror universe off the ground with the Mummy. Remember?
One more. The book of Ass Shanti. All right, I think I'm done.
Isn't that a singer from the '90s, Ashanti?
I think
you're thinking of Ashanti. Wait, no. Yeah, Ashanti was an actual singer.
Well, I'm talking about the Book of Ashanti, and I'm just making it ass to make it.
That's
dirty,
like the Kama Sutra for sorcerers, I guess.
Yeah, sure, I like it.
Like the ancient one would like rub oil on her bald head and just rub it all over your body. That sort of stuff.
Back to She-Hulk.
Tells you how much we love She-Hulk. We just like look for any reason to go off. But yeah, to finish my thought, I think it's interesting that like Marvel's trying to get their own horror universe going with like Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider, and all this. And like Universal failed, so it's like sort of like sticking at Universal. But yeah, back to She-Hulk. So Titania was really annoying in this episode. I'm really surprised. I know Jamila Jamal is like British because she was in that show The Good Place, which I think I started watching. I thought it was kind of a little too quirky, a little too silly for me, but people seem to like it.
How far did you
watch? Like 2 episodes. I know The Good Place is really the bad place, though, right?
Yeah, but like you gotta watch like the first 2 seasons before, and like the first 2 seasons are great. The first couple episodes are a lot. It's like, why can't the first season be good? Like Clone Wars, Star Trek Next Generation. Because it's a character arc. It's like Schitt's Creek. Like you can't watch Schitt's Creek out of order. Like you can watch any you can watch Seinfeld you can watch Seinfeld in any kind of order. It doesn't fucking matter. But like you can't watch Schitt's Creek out of order, even though it's a sitcom.
Well, skip the first 2 seasons. Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I think Seinfeld didn't even get popping until season 4. But
the only thing you miss is just like some little callbacks here and there.
Yeah, Jerry's dad skipped the first season of Seinfeld. Why shouldn't you?
Yeah, if I start watching Star Trek Next Generation and Picard's a Borg, I think I probably missed something.
So let me ask you this. Let's tangent one more time. When we're in a culture of if it's not an instant hit in season 1, it's canceled. It's one and done with Netflix,
especially Netflix,
culling everything. HBO cutting shit left and right. Like, are we missing out on future masterpieces because we don't allow them to?
Do you really think Rings of Power is going to be a masterpiece in its 3rd season?
Yeah, they got 5 seasons. They already put $1 billion into it. Why not? There's going to be so much fan feedback over 4 years to create the next 2 seasons. Like,
well, Amazon's not going to cancel it. They spent too much. Well,
yeah,
I don't know.
How do you not? Like, they're pot committed. Like, you can't spend $1 billion on a 5-season run, get 1 season, and be like, we fucked up, dude. That would send your share price to the ground. That would scare investors so much.
Especially when they're competing with House of the Dragon. You know, they don't want to because that's going to keep on going for at least 3 seasons.
Yeah, and then boom,
and
another spinoff. House of the Dragon was the best thing that happened to HBO. Like, incredible numbers.
Well, I got Succession. Everyone they gets nominated for a bunch of Emmys.
Yes,
and,
true. But we all vowed, we all cut our wrists, and we took a vow together that we would never watch any Game of Thrones spinoff because season 8 was so bad. But you know what? Time heals all wounds. 3-4 years later. Well, they already D&D,
didn't they? The showrunners are not involved with the show at all.
I didn't take that oath.
What, Rob? Yeah. You're the one who sent out the text message. Wait, is this not your number? Who have I been texting for 4 years?
So Titania lost, and then she was like, "You're a hater." And Titania was really annoying, and we didn't even get to see her use her powers. We didn't find anything else about Titania except that she's annoying. We don't even find out. We don't even find out.
Man through a wall.
Yeah, why did she do that? We don't even find out why she did that. Why was she trying to stop that trial?
Oh my! Yeah, she looked confused, like she didn't mean to be in there.
Can we hire a lawyer to ask these questions? I'll hit up Legal Eagle because I have a lot of questions. One, can you assault somebody and then sue them for copyright infringement later? At what point does that become assault? Right? I'd be
what if she took it
this woman ran through the side of a courthouse, attacked me for no reason, steals my name, and then sues me for copyright infringement. Tell me,
yeah, who looks like the victim there when you look at it that way?
How is this woman not canceled yet? Strength is beauty, and beauty is strength. And then she's wearing that green diaper, fashion. I love it. It's so awful.
Yeah, I think Lady Gaga set fashion back.
Then they had to go look for the. Are you the guy?
Oh my god!
When they were looking for the suit.
Guys,
She-Hulk and then he has all the off-brand stuff.
Oh my! So that was my favorite. Right? Forrest asked me.
Avengers.
Forrest asked me, "Did I enjoy this episode?" The answer is yes. For this one line, oh, you don't like Avengers? What, you want Avengers? Oh, with an eye.
Avengers.
That was good. My question is, for a show who prides himself on so much diversity and inclusion and breaking stereotypes, are you gonna make the Asian guy peddle illegal merchandise? That's super. That's super racist.
To him in Chinese.
Yeah, dude.
Well, first of all,
that was awkward.
There's no Chinese. It's either Mandarin or Cantonese.
Right, exactly.
A Chinese, an actual Mandarin or Cantonese speaker wouldn't say, Chinese. And I'm pretty sure the showrunner name is Jessica Gao. So I'm kind of interested how that sort of slipped through.
But Avengers.
So did you see all the differences in the characters? Thor had a shovel.
Yeah,
Hulk was purple.
It was fun, and it was clever. I liked it.
That's Crunk from the Justice Friends. Remember from Dexter's Lab? There was a show within the show. It was basically their parody of the Avengers. There was Major Glory, Val Hallen, who was Thor.
Major Glory
was Captain America. The imbraggable Crunk or something like that. And they were all in a it was the incorrigible Crunk. But yeah, they were all a parody of the Avengers. They were living in a. I'm surprised that didn't become a show because that was so cool. Although they probably would have got sued by Marvel. They kept going. But that was back when Marvel wasn't by anyone. That was by the same guy who does Primal. So that's a show we should bring back.
That was back before Marvel had enough money to sue anybody. That was back in the 90s.
They were going bankrupt, so they had to sell other licenses away.
They didn't have enough money.
That's why Fox got X-Men, Spider-Man, Sony got Spider-Man, Universal got Hulk. So they were just whoring themselves out. That was the first whore universe. Marvel. They whored themselves out to every studio who would they'd show their leg to.
Guys.
So the B story, basically what's the guy from Incredibles? The girl Edna Mode. This is the Edna Mode of the MCU.
So let's talk about this B story. Let me ask you this, Robbie: how tall do you think She-Hulk is?
She's at least 7 feet.
She is 6'7".
Oh, really?
That is tall, but that is not unheard of.
The way she's kind of like towering over a lot of people, and I was gonna guess like 7 feet.
Yeah, no, in the comics at least she's 6'7".
Well, high heels.
That's all we have to go off of right now. Hold on, she needs a reinforced bed, but she doesn't need reinforced high heels. Exactly. So my thing is like, oh, like we need like this special tailor or whatever. No, you don't. A regular tailor can make a suit for a 6'7" woman.
They exist. They're big and tall.
They have the WNBA out there, or the
but not the funding to.
Like I don't understand like what's going on, and it's like, oh, like I make the finest quality. Do you want weapons or armor proof? Like, no, she doesn't want to be a superhero. She wants a suit that fits so she looks good in the courtroom. Any tailor can fix this. You don't need to know a guy. You need to know Google.
How did that Family Guy go? Remember that for us? He's like, we have the technology.
I don't want to spend too much money.
Oh yeah, I was trying to remember how they said it.
The $5 man.
That's Peter, and he's got like a plunger for a leg and a rake for an arm.
He's like a trash can for like one leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Back when Family Guy was amazing.
What'd you guys think of Pug this episode?
Pug, I feel so bad for the actor because like he has to like literally act like a dumbass, even though he's
I don't understand what character he's playing. Like, so like I love. I'm aware. I've worked with sneakerheads before. I'm very aware of the sneakerhead culture. I love it. I'm glad they included that. Like that was fun. What do they call him? A drip broker? Like that's super cool. I now want to be referred to as the drip broker. Or maybe like next time I call a plumber, I'll call him the drip broker. I think that's like a fun term
smarter
or whatever. Yeah. But like at the end, skipping ahead just real fast. I want to give a special shout out to E04 who highlighted, I think like the last podcast or the podcast before that, like the courtroom drawings at the end of the episode. And
his shoe collection.
And I stuck around the end of this episode. 1, banger song. 2, banging graphics. Like the visuals, like the texture, I'm like the artist, like the drawing and the courtroom sketches looks awesome. But yeah, Robbie said it like, let's talk about these shoes for a second. We see some Cyclops shoes. Does this mean the X-Men already exist? Or
Deadpool shoes? Yeah.
Deadpool shoes? Like what is happening here? Are we saying fuck canon? Does post-credit
Black Panther, Vision?
Well, those are already. We're talking about the ones.
A breakdown video.
Nice, love it.
Well, those make sense.
Over to the
like,
shoes.
The X-Men ones are the ones that people are talking about. I don't think they have any Spider-Man ones because Sony's going to Sony. And I think the showrunner already said there's going to be no Spider-Man in the show. So
yeah.
One that I think is Green Goblin.
Oh yeah, okay. Maybe they can use. Interesting. Maybe they'll have to re-edit
some
that.
of them they're guessing that they're what they could be.
They're just like, oh, it's
green.
Green.
It might be a Hulk one. If it's like purple and green,
exactly.
It might be
if it's green, it's probably.
If Sony
some of them,
like,
you
that's
just
the
kind of
Hulk.
have to go off their color theme.
Yeah. So
when they're saying Juggernaut,
you got to be careful in the age of IP when you post. So
exactly. Well, that's my question for us. Like, you have to be careful with the IP you post. So like clearly, like this had to go through a lot of people. So
of what shoes they're gonna put up there?
Exactly. Like no one's not gonna like notice the Cyclops shoes. They just stand out. They're right at eye level and they're super iconic. Also, can I just point out a lot of the shoe designs are dope AF. Like those are some cool fucking looking shoes.
The credits were the best part of this episode. The best part of any She-Hulk episode.
Or what was it? He has two shoes.
That's over.
One to rock.
One to wear and one,
One to rock and one to stock, bro.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yes. So like a part of me is like, fuck you. Like we're in the middle of a supply chain issue, right? Like we just went through a pandemic where you had fucking hoarding ass bitches buy up all the toilet paper on every single aisle, right? So like maybe you just buy one pair of shoes and you either fucking wear them or you enjoy them.
Or
right?
donate them.
Yeah, it's like some little kid out there wants a fucking pair of Iron Man 3s. He's not gonna get them because you got one of your lawyer buddies to stand in line with you, so you can fucking get two pairs. So one can
anyway. And I bet like the people who do that.
You know, I'm not really bitching and complaining. I'm just a huge fan of capitalism. I trade stocks.
Well, it's
for a
like
living.
this is capitalism gone wrong. It's like this is capitalism gone wrong.
What if I look up
if you say this is capitalism gone wrong, that automatically summons one of my favorite people in the entire world, Matt.
Ahoy, hoy. Look who's here.
Yeah, we're just talking about people who stand in line for shoes and how they should probably be, sent to jail.
I don't know if we should go that far, right? Like,
I was going to say executed, so I was like, sent to jail seems like a step down from what I was originally going to think.
I would say this: if they're standing in line and they're creating a supply chain issue with special edition shoes, and they don't put their cart away at the shopping mall or at a grocery store, then yeah, I think maybe jail's a better option. They should be taken, out of society. But one or the other, I think. Well, for the shoes at least, I think it's a little harsh.
Yeah. Well,
because one to rock and one to stock, it rhymes. So how can it be wrong?
So funny story about shoe releases. I don't know why we're talking about shoe releases, but okay. I didn't watch it at all.
Watched it.
I worked as a security guard at a mall, and there was a Jordan release where people were lining out like noon before, and the release was going to be 6 o'clock the next morning. Well, at 2 o'clock in the morning, one of the guards went to check the doors and then unlock it, and you're supposed to queue to the store. And as she's unlocking it, they rushed it and completely knocked down the doors, those big doors that go into malls, on top of her. So we had to call the police to come clear out the whole mall at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm telling 40 units showed up. We're rounding people to get out. And people started getting really upset because we then had to cancel the release event.
Holy crap.
And so yes, I hate shoe release events.
Yeah, it's I'm sure being a mall security guard around Christmas time is like working for the Night's Watch. And yes, I did steal that from South Park.
Well,
but
now it's a lot more calm. Black Friday is nothing like it was growing up, or
especially with internet, thanks to Amazon.
Ago. Yeah,
now it's all about online, where you don't have to
and it's all organized.
Physically waiting in line.
Retail workers, it's a bunch of millennials and Gen Z, Zoomers. They're not putting up with your fucking boomer ass shit. Stand in line. We're gonna hand out tickets, or I'm shutting this whole place down. I'll take my Zoomer mentality. I'll take my millennial mentality. I will not fucking give this TV to you. That's just we're not putting up with this shit. You're either gonna behave, or I'll quit my job right now. Right? That's just the culture we're in.
Now you got those people that got bots that can just buy everything up as soon as it posts.
Yeah, and what's great about society, and I say great in air quotes, right, is if you don't have the technological skills for that, you can just go on Fiverr and pay someone to buy a bot to get that PS5 for you for Christmas. Capitalism, motherfucker. Why is She-Hulk a television show with capitalism around? Right?
Well, it's just Hollywood this day is very anti-capitalism now. It just seems funny that they would just show just a horrible example of capitalism.
Can I just
even pro-capitalism people would.
Special shout out to Rings of Power for having a good dad scene. I think that was the first good dad scene I've seen in any movie. You know what happens when you say good dad twice in a row? It summons the demon himself. The Tipper's in town.
Tip is here.
Yeah. Well, Tips can tell us how much he loved Rings of Power. I mean, I know Matt saw Rings of Power at least.
We're not there yet. I just want to give a shout out to good dad scenes. I haven't seen one in 4 or 5 years.
What was the good dad scene in Rings of Power? Was it the Dying King?
Yeah, it was Thor. It was Durin and Durin, which doesn't even make sense lore wise, because Durin's folk believe Durin reincarnates into their king. So my question is, how can Durin reincarnate into the third king, or into 2 different people at the same time? But they clear that up this episode by saying once you become king, all the voices flow into your head, which to me just kind of sounds like you went mad with power. But what else you say? How you guys doing?
The gold sickness.
Are you sure that's not the humans? Commentary.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
Some of our
want to
own
talk about.
rumors.
I want to talk about the dwarf story because they
All
discovered
right, well, let's
Mithril.
finish up She-Hulk then. Let's recap
She-Hulk
it.
sucked.
All right, sounds good. Rob, what'd you think? Are you excited for next week? I just want to remind everyone the storyline, the B storyline for She-Hulk. She had to find a tailor. She's only 6'7". She could have gone to literally any tailor. She's just looking for a suit for a courtroom, right? Like maybe he makes it. Oh, we didn't even talk about Daredevil. Forrest, you're rushing us here.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
Daredevil.
definitely blackmailing us here with Daredevil tease at the end because I'm like, oh crap, now I have to like, you want to stop watching this show? Here's Daredevil's helmet. Sit on that. And I was like, damn you, She-Hulk. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. So yeah, so Daredevil's gonna be in the next episode. It was like
Keep
I was
you
like,
going.
Like the last like this Taylor's ridiculous, this storyline's ridiculous, this show's ridiculous. I'm not watching anymore. Daredevil's
How many
helmet's like,
episodes they got?
Yeah,
I think 4 left.
Hey, how
I thought it was only 8.
many
this season.
superheroes are
Too
going
many.
around that this guy with a super secret clothing business can be that much of a douchebag and that selective?
Yeah, how are you
Right?
keeping the?
Like,
What if
my-
he designs
Can't
Dr.
be
Doom's
that
clothes?
many
even
superheroes
even
out
if he
there.
even if he signs an exclusive deal with the Avengers, right? There's like 5 of them
Avengers.
left, right? Thor's not getting his fucking outfit from this guy. He's getting it from a hammer. The Hulk clearly isn't getting this outfit from this guy. What, he might have designed the new Captain America suit? Like, that's pretty a flashy suit right there, right? You guys remember the white? You guys remember that
What if
terrible
he-
show? So like my question is like my
oh,
question is like,
yes.
oh, and so now he's got a Daredevil. All right, how this blind lawyer get in? Right, he's not an Avenger, right? Which,
we
by
had
the
to
way,
give
I
up his
kind of want
secret
to call
identity.
I kind of want to call the Avengers the Avengers from now on.
Well, it's like Matt Murdock has to give up his secret identity, even like get this guy to tailor for him. It seems.
You know
Yeah,
who,
but
he's,
like-
who he
but like
also
he's-
reminds me of?
He's got no identity. He's nobody.
Edna Mode from Incredibles.
Yeah.
So how?
Yeah, it's basically what they're going for.
in the
Pretty
continuity, how did a nobody lawyer named Matt Murdock get this snooty
This is
ass
how he did it.
tailor? I can't wait to see it.
He showed up in his suit, his Daredevil suit. He took off his mask and another mask underneath it.
And then
It's like,
under that
aha.
was Tom Cruise. Are you talking about Mission Impossible, like those kind of masks, or are you talking about?
No,
like,
it's I guess like a just like cloth mask, like
Oh.
Robin would wear under his Daredevil mask. So that's probably how they're gonna do it. There's like a really dumb storyline in the comics right now where like he's in prison, but he's allowed to keep his mask on, so they don't give away his secret identity.
love it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Marvel, you're kind of pulling my leg. Because they
All right.
already did like a story like in like 10 years ago where Matt Murdock did go to prison, but it was as Matt Murdock, and people thought he was Daredevil, maybe not was Daredevil, but like in the new comic, he's like literally in prison as Daredevil with his mask on.
Matt, let me get your opinion
Murdoch.
on this. One of my, I see what you did there, Force, and I'm going to acknowledge that. That was good. One of my favorite superhero tropes is everyone thinks so-and-so is a superhero, and then so-and-so gets locked up, and then so-and-so gets their sidekick to dress up as said superhero and go around like fighting crime.
Yep.
Right? They're like, I can't be Batman because Bruce Wayne's locked up in jail or whatever. Right? Like, is that dumb, or do you enjoy those storylines too? Yeah, I knew that'd get to you.
Well, they did do that with Daredevil. They had Iron Fist dress up as him and fight crime while he was in prison.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna give my supporting argument wasn't gonna be the worst example of all time, but yes, Forrest, that is another example of a situation where that happens.
I think nowadays, though, too, like that works maybe in the 80s, early 90s, but with like 24/7 news cycles, it would be like, do you notice how Daredevil's now only 6'2"? He was 5'10" back in the day.
Well, to be fair, if anyone's going to disguise themselves as Daredevil and he pull it off, it's probably going to be Iron Fist. Probably one of the few people who can actually like stand toe to toe with him in a fight. But I will agree, it is lazy writing.
Microphone pop filter
And did
fell
they already
off.
do
Sorry
that
about
in the third season? They had Bullseye dress up as him anyway. So, but yeah, let's move on to Rings of Power because I think that's what we all really want to dig into.
Forrest, there are enough funny
okay.
puns out there that we cannot just go around calling this show
What?
by its legitimate name. Rings of Power nap, or
the
Rings of Pronouns. What was Robbie's?
I
That
still
was pretty
have
funny.
not gotten through episode 1. I'm trying so
Over to the
Skip it.
Rams.
Skip it,
Yeah,
Matt.
this
episode
show's
1
pretty
sucks.
Yeah, episode 2 and 3 do pick up. I think 3 is probably the best, even though like we find out the Harfoots are like heartless bastards, but still, at least the plot was
have
picking
you
up. Fourth
heard-
episode was pretty slow too.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the backlash from like the Irish press about the Harfoots? They are not happy at all with the representation. There's like a big story in the
Really?
Irish Times or whatever, or Ireland Times. Yeah, it made like a little blip on Twitter.
Well, why are the Irish so mad? I mean, I think the British should be more mad. I mean, in the English,
Because the
they are told to be
Harfoots
British, right?
are kind of shown as like bumbling idiots and like being bastards. And they have like what I think
I
the article I think called it staged
so Tolkien
Irish
intended them-
accents.
Oh, so Tolkien and sort of like they were like a analog for the Irish. His thoughts on the Irish people, right?
They
He's an
are in this show.
Irish.
So, if we haven't picked up on it, the Harfoots are Irish, the dwarves are Scottish, the elves are British, or the men are
English.
British?
Well,
I don't.
the men are
I
probably
don't
like
know.
Lancaster British.
And then
And
I don't know.
well, England, there's several accents. There's like a Yorkshire accent that's like more like erudite, and then there's like the South London accent. So maybe the men are the South London accent, English accent. No, wait, the men are Welsh, and the elves are English. So how about that? Because there's 4 races, right? And the orcs are Cockney English.
Hey,
I'm pretty sure they do. The orcs do have Cockney accents.
they do have Cockney accents. Can I give a big shout out to all the orcs in Rings of Power who learned how to speak the common tongue so I don't have to read subtitles? I really appreciate that. Thanks for learning English, guys.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about Adar. So what do y'all think of Adar?
Adar,
Maybe-
aka
maybe-
the
maybe
father.
Sauron, maybe not.
Why is he the father? Does that mean
Another
he's
Sauron candidate?
Is he making orcs? No. So
He's
here's
making
my
the-
thing. Spoiler alert, this motherfucker doesn't exist in the other lore. So he either dies or dies. But he is not successful.
He's gonna be
not
killed by
enough to
Sauron in the
ever-
last episode.
Not enough to ever be mentioned like in the lore. What are they gonna do? They're gonna create this character, this guy who wants to become a god, and they're just gonna write a new god into fucking Tolkien lore? Like, are they that brazen?
with Bezos, yes.
Look, look,
Well-
man, they're brazen enough to break lore. I think they're gonna break lore. The more I'm thinking about it, they're gonna break lore. And the stranger, I'm pretty sure is Gandalf, right? Like, you don't sink
Tick
$1
a lot of
billion
people off.
into this show without putting Gandalf in it. But
I still think it's Alator
I don't know.
Palando, but he could be also Sauron. Because
Maybe-
we're still not sure if he's good or bad.
maybe it's the Lord of Gifts with grayscale. But maybe I'm just watching too much high fantasy TV shows.
And also, I think Halbrand, everyone thinks he's Sauron too, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be the Witch King of Angmar.
Okay, can I
Because we
just
know that he's a king. He's sort of what, pseudo Aragorn?
yeah,
He's
he's
like a
pseudo
king who sort of like
Aragorn.
walked off his responsibilities.
Can I paint a picture
Yeah,
for you guys
and,
who have seen? Who's seen the last episode? Matt, have you seen the last episode of Rings of Power? Nap?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, slight spoilers. Not
seen
really
it.
a big one. Rob has. Rob, you're gonna
seen
enjoy
it.
this. Listeners are gonna
I
enjoy
seen
this,
it.
right? So there's a point at the end. So Halbrand goes to jail, and then later on he goes out of jail. You don't see how, but spoiler alert: he stole the key off of the dumb king, and then broke out of prison. But there's a part where in Numenor, they've got the white tree, and the health of Numenor is allegedly tied to like the leaves, right? As long as like the tree's healthy, right? Like and the leaves are on the tree, like Numenor is fine, right? Flash forward to Lord of the Rings, you have a similar tree with Gondor, right? Gondor didn't have any leaves on its tree, and Gondor was also a piece of shit. So at the end of the episode, we see all the leaves, or we see a bunch of the leaves start flying off of this tree. And it's because of that
they all come towards her.
They all go towards Galadriel, and they're like, so Galadriel gets shipped off this island, or shifts off Numenor, and then the tree just like starts unleashing all these leaves, and they're like, oh shit, let's get that elf back because we have a responsibility to the elves, right? So Robbie, I was imagining like up at the top, because you never see like a close up of the tree. I was just picturing like Halbrand shaking the tree and like all the leaves just like rustling in the wind. It's like a giant ruse to try to get them like a giant army to go back to the Southlands. But Halbrand's just like shaking all the leaves. Like,
He was all
like,
part of the plan.
Exactly. Like there's nothing like really going on.
But then they all go straight to her.
All right, guys. So we
like,
can't
the
talk about
the big reveal is Galadriel. Yeah.
We can't talk about Rings of Power episode 4. Are we already on episode 4? Guys, are we halfway through? There is nothing going on.
We're halfway through this series. We don't know who Halbrand is. We don't know who the stranger is.
Yeah.
Guys, we just met Adar, and we're probably gonna find out who he is.
I always like to put this in perspective. When I think about 4 hours, like, and nothing's happened, I go back to like episode 4 and 5 of Star Wars. Like, that's 4 hours, and so much happens. Right? Anyway.
It's still probably better than House of the Dragon, which is on episode 5, and still nothing's happened. So,
well, I think I do like an actress switch next episode.
Introduced everybody.
There's gonna be like a new actress for Rhaenyra and Reticent, or what's her name? Who's the Alicent? And it's gonna be like, I wonder how that's.
This whole episode was literally who's sexy sex with sex, and who's sexy sex to get power.
So it's basically True Blood.
So before
it's like True Blood,
fucking soap opera.
Before Matt texted the group, I finished Game of Thrones, Hot D, and I looked at my wife and I was like, "Is this just a soap opera with dragons?" And then Matt watched it the next day and confirmed my suspicion. So I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So like, I'm not alone on this.
I'm not... all of my dragons instead of all my children.
All of my dragons.
The bold.
Seriously.
What's the other one? The bold and the scaly, or the.
But like, this isn't necessarily
the young
bad.
and the scaly.
I mean, like, it's not enjoyable.
People seem to, like online, but
so
I
like,
don't know.
Anyway, no. First, I want to get back to Rings of Power because I think maybe 4 out of 5 YouTubers I watched this last week when they were going over Rings of Power, all played a clip of South Park, and they're like, they took our gerbs. Like, they took our gerbs. They took our gerbs. So like so
Numenor.
We open up in Numenor, and like the guild craftsman who got his ass kicked by Halbrand a couple episodes back, right, is like trying to like rally the people and start a grassroots movement, and he starts this tirade about how like the elves, like, they don't sleep, they don't tire, they don't age, and they're here to take our jobs or whatever. And it just seems like super out of place, like allegorical. Like, one, like, what the fuck did the elves ever want to do with you? Nothing. 2, you're on an island. You're literally like leagues away.
There's one fucking elf. Chill out, dude.
One elf, and she's leaving. And like, besides, you mentioned you can't get a job on Numenor without having a craft guild, right? Yeah, it's one lady elf comes in. And you're like, oh my god, they're taking all of our jobs.
Who doesn't even want to be there?
Doesn't. She just wants to leave.
Yeah.
Maybe with some people. But like, it's
really,
so
really bad. Trying to make.
Yeah. I think
it just goes to show it's just like,
to that.
They don't understand that, it's supposed to be escapism. What entertainment's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be like allegorical for
Tolkien's
everything
favorite
that's going
thing.
on
Tolkien
in the real
said,
world.
Tolkien said on his deathbed, he said, make sure my life's work becomes an allegory for 2020.
I viewed Galadriel as the unions coming in and trying to unionize Amazon, and then therefore, everybody's panicking about that. So Bezos is sending a scene that unions are bad, and the elves are pro-union.
That could be.
Well,
my question.
Tolkien, at least with Lord of the Rings, was just like it was just anti-industrial, industrialization of the countryside. That's basically the only allegory he had in the Lord of the Rings.
Is everyone
I think it's
British?
agreeable. I think both sides can agree on that.
Is everyone from the UK in Rings of Power?
Like
the actors in the cast?
She was on the Arrow show. No, the Queen The Queen is American, I think.
Okay. Like I looked it up
There
online.
might be some other Americans,
I tried
but I know-
to look
I
it
know
up
she's-
earlier, and I couldn't figure out. Like I know, like because like and like Harry Potter, everyone was British. That's probably what I was thinking of Harry Potter. And I was just curious about this, but like like the UK, like especially
Vern
like,
Troyer was on Harry Potter.
England has a big problem with
Here's
like
the thing: is for some odd reason
immigration
in
right
America, in America, whenever we think of like high fantasy or even low fantasy, a British accent comes to the back of our head, and that proves that it's fantasy. If we hear that Britishness,
Yeah.
and I have no
And it's-
clue why they've gotten combined.
it's from Tolkien.
but
Yeah,
still,
it's like
still.
well,
It's
like,
because
he's
it's
British,
Tolkien.
but George R. R. Tolkien's American, and Robert Jordan's American, and both their audiobooks they have, and both the shows adaptations they have British people. in all the
Because of
roles.
Tolkien. Like,
So
look,
weird.
the only reason this whole fucking fantasy, the reason this genre survived and thrived the way it has in the past, 90 years is because of this guy named Tolkien, right? He's look, I'm telling you right now, high fantasy didn't fucking survive because of Dune. Sorry to all my Dune lovers out there, right? But like, you don't
Well, that's
beat
sci-fi.
Lord of the Rings.
That's
It's you can't beat, yeah, right. But I bet Dune was inspired by Tolkien. Everyone's inspired by
would
Tolkien.
say-
It's one of the greatest pieces of works of all time. But like, it's because of that British accent,
I'd
right?
say
Like,
Robert E. Howard
if,
maybe.
if Tolkien had an Australian accent and all this came from Australia, right? We'd probably view the Australian accent more in a more regal way.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Or redneck, somebody from South Florida wrote the Lord of the Rings, it would come out a lot different. I
Well, a
would
guy from
imagine.
South Carolina wrote The Wheel of Time, so it's interesting that I still only watched the first episode. Apparently, it wasn't too.
Wait, Robert Jordan's
The
from
guy who wrote
South
The Wheel of
Carolina?
Time's from Charleston.
Wait,
from
the
Charleston,
TV
yeah.
show or the book?
And he pretty
Yeah,
much
the books. Robert Jordan is from Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
the writer of the Wheel of Time series. But the
Wow.
guy who finished it is from Utah. He's Mormon. Brandon Sanderson. He's
could
also
ar-
American.
One could argue that Charleston's not really South Carolina, the South. It's not the same. It depends on what side of Charleston you're on. If Robert Jordan's growing
It's
up
a
in
very
the Battery,
erudite part of the state.
if he's growing up in the Battery, then that's not even the South. Besides the racism.
Okay.
Erudite's the word of the day.
Yeah. Well,
For all of our
everyone
Zeitgeists
in
out
England
there.
is erudite. So,
No.
but yeah, I guess Rings of Power. What else happened? They discovered Mithril. That was the big, L. Ron Durin story. It was kind of boring. We all knew it was gonna be Mithril, and it's like, okay, they discovered it.
I enjoy
They
the
sang
character
rocks.
dynamic. I really enjoy the character dynamic. Like elves.
Hey,
and-
they're friends again, and
They're-
the dad and son.
yeah.
There's like just no conflict. It seemed in that
Well,
storyline, just like
because they're friends
Durin
now.
and Elrond are getting along. Durin and his dad are getting along. The wife's really bad at lying, and they sang the rocks.
Well, they had
And it was
conflict
like,
by
exactly.
the
But I think Caleb.
Celebrant
And
War.
how about finds his secret doorway without a whole lot of effort?
And then
Yeah, he
knocks
just
on
does
it.
the poem, or he
luckily,
does the
yeah.
rhyme.
Luckily, Durin's kids were screaming the password and off camera, the scene beforehand, so Elrond knew exactly the password.
They
to
won't
get
show
in.
their kids for some reason. It's like, can they not find any biracial kids for this show? Because they found some biracial kids for House of the Dragon.
Maybe you can't
for,
put beards on them. Maybe you can't
the
put
Marry
beards
the
on
King.
kids.
Yeah, it's really
Something
strange.
with the chemicals. I don't know.
No.
Have you guys
Maybe
noticed?
no.
Here, I'm about to ruin the show for you guys. Have you guys noticed that none of the elves have sideburns? Yeah, just
No.
whenever
Why
you
is that?
whenever you watch the TV show, just let that sink in.
Oh, there's no reason. Just
Now I'm happy noticing
You're
that.
just gonna notice
You
it.
also notice they all have pointy ears. Is that just me?
No. Oh,
Anyway.
but let's talk about
All right,
point
so
years
the
for a
third
second.
storyline,
No. You brought it up
wait,
first.
well, how about
Yeah.
that?
Theo, let's talk about
We were getting to the
Theo.
ore.
This kid. Oh, Mithril. We'll talk about. We'll go back to that. But first, we're talking about 20 years.
well, he's a man.
So,
He's not an elf.
no, Theo's a kid with a very long bowl cut.
Yeah.
We haven't seen his ears yet, and we know his mom is
Oh.
an elf lover. I'm just saying, a drama. Do you guys think this
Do you
kid's
think
half elf?
Adar is his father, his actual father?
Ooh.
Oh, that could be. I don't know. If Adar is his
That's
actual
spicy.
father, and the orcs are like, "What the hell, Dad?"
You might tweet that out. You all right? Anyway, Rob, what were you saying?
Like
Let's get back to
Sauron's with the.
Oh well, we were getting to
Saruman.
We're talking about the
or-
storyline. I was about
the
to
dwarves
mention
and the.
Oh, Mithril.
fake
Oh,
Sauron.
we were getting into the little secret area that he got to because of the special ore they were mining down.
And they found the Mithril. Yes, that's what they used.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
do you
Frodo
think-
had.
Yeah, so he basically swore that he's not going to tell anybody, but
He's gonna tell
Yeah.
Caleb Brimbor next
totally
episode. Like, dude,
Well, I mean,
Brimbor.
Dude,
down this
spoiler alert.
Dude.
We've
well, especially
all
when you give him a piece.
well, first off, yeah, don't give him a piece. Hey, we have this super
Elrond's
secret thing, but here's some physical evidence of this super top secret thing I don't want you to
He's
tell
like-
anyone about. Here's some physical
Yeah, he
rock,
says
literally
it's
rock
like
hard
Elrond.
A
evidence.
token of our friendship.
It's like, hey, Elrond, first taste is free.
Rock hard evidence.
Your mouth isn't moving when you speak either. You're really good at
Sounds like you got a
ventriloquism.
bad scene.
I would
yeah, he's
also.
like, I'm pretty sure like Elrond's gonna become like the Tony Montana of Mithril. You did?
Nice.
Was it Clemson? Oh. What? Okay. Oh,
It sounds
nice.
vaguely familiar.
Elrond was in The
Also, fuck. Maybe don't say the city.
He must have been the cartoon because it looks in the cartoon.
Yeah, maybe
Anyway.
we cut that part.
I guess makes sense why he's in Rivendell next episode in the first Fellowship of the Ring.
Forrest
All right,
isn't even
well-
listening. It's just gonna be. He's never gonna.
Not in the
hear this.
cartoon though.
Yeah.
Robbie can
I've only seen the
honestly hear
cartoon.
me.
Anyway,
I just want to keep this in.
Yeah.
Just to laugh about this later.
what are you laughing
so
about?
The podcast
Exactly.
of five best friends interrupting each other just turned into the podcast where two different groups of people have a conversation at the same time over each other. Good luck editing that.
Oh, me
Well,
edit. That's crazy.
Yeah, if we still
Anyway,
have any,
so-
if we have any listeners left over, if we have any listeners left over, yeah. So I'd like to
Well,
remind everyone
the-
that in Lord of the Rings, Elrond talks about Mithril, and I think doesn't like,
A lot.
yeah. So like he definitely breaks that oath because he swore to never tell a living soul, and that's clearly broken. Now, obviously,
It didn't
if
take
it's
him
no
long,
longer
I guess.
if it's no longer a secret, then maybe you could, but it's clearly like, if I promise never to say it out loud, on my dad. Rob, do you have any questions about who Elrond's dad is? He's a star in the sky.
His dead dad.
Is he dead? He's a
Oh.
star in the sky.
Well,
he
he
lives
never
forever.
swore he wouldn't write it
I don't-
down.
Yeah, I don't really know all their history very well.
It's
Well,
a
Elrond never
lot.
swore he wouldn't write it down. He just said he'd never tell anyone.
I'll never speak of it.
Well, I'll never speak of
So
it.
is that
When
why
he turns the camera? He's gonna write it down and give it to Caleb Brimbor.
But so like, here's my thing.
Yeah.
So
So,
he
yeah,
didn't speak of it.
Elrond's dad, as a reward, right? So elves are immortal, right? Maybe Matt, do you know this? Was
Yeah.
Elrond's dad?
They immortal or just live long?
Elrond's half
elves
elf,
are
half
immortal,
man, and he chose to be an elf.
right?
and
And
his
his
brother
brother
chose to be a man.
Okay, thank
So
you
they're-
for that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But
And
like,
he was the first
basically,
king of Numenor.
his dad was a fucking badass, and did a lot of cool shit. And reward for that, he got to become a star. But that kind of seems more like a punishment to me than anything else. Like, if I was like, I would want to like be with my family. I would want to like hang out with like, especially if you have this nice bond or like with Elrond, your son, right? And the other son, but he's gonna die because he chose the human life. But like, you and your son can like live for eternity, but you chose to be a star. Like that seems more of a punishment. But that's just the gods giving blessings, I guess. Anyway, not
Yeah.
important at all. Just some thoughts.
Different
I
strokes,
had.
different folks.
He's like,
Well, we gotta
he's
talk
like-
about the
he's like, I
Palantir
gotta
made its
get
appearance in
away
this.
from this. He's like, I gotta get away from my elvish wife, my bronze bitch.
The Palantir, yes. Apparently, it's named after the king of Numenor.
So they definitely changed
So we saw the
lore.
Palantir in this, and there's 7 of them.
Yeah, they definitely changed the lore on
I don't
this
know, guys. I don't know really.
because there were supposed to be 7 Palantirs in Numenor, and then when the Numenorians came to Middle Earth, they brought the 7 with them. But now it sounds like in the TV show that 6 of them are lost, and one of them is like the only one left is the one on Numenor.
They're like the Dragon Balls. You gotta collect all 7 to like wish away Sauron, I guess. But yeah, but it's sort of like it harkens back to what Gandalf was saying. We only saw one Palantir in the Lord of the Rings. That was the one that belonged to Saruman.
Yep.
Apparently there's 7, and we know Gandalf's like, they're not all accounted for. We don't know who else is watching. So sort of like
there is one
like
Palantir.
an open. It's like chat roulette. It's like, but everyone's watching. You can't turn off the other cameras.
Well, you do have to aim it
in your group chat.
You do have to aim it, but you're right. You can like spy on other people. Like,
well, it's a sphere though. It's like all seeing, right?
That has an axis. Has a northern and a southern pole, and you have to like align it with like another Palantir to like communicate with each other. But you can also like align to like spy on people.
Well, you know how Lord of the Rings loves their inanimate objects with corrupting influences. So do you think the Palantir has corrupted the Queen?
No,
or it'll corrupt someone else? Maybe Halbrand it corrupts him.
Sauron does use the Palantir to corrupt Saruman and others in the lore. So you're absolutely right. It's just another tool.
So
spoilers
for the
Third Age. So I guess the third storyline was with the elf. Who's what's his name? Ishmael? No, that's the name of the actor. Who's named the Black Elf? I forget his name. He's sort of
main character elf. That's what I call him.
The main character elf, yeah. So he was apparently Adar just let him go, just because they couldn't think of an interesting way for him to escape. So he's like, go tell these people that they gotta either surrender or I'm gonna kill them. So
super generic. Join me or die.
That elf guy. Yep. And apparently Adar wants to be a god, so that makes me think he is Sauron, but he can't be Sauron. They're not going to introduce Sauron until the end of the season, or next season, because he's got to show up as Anatar. So,
isn't Sauron?
But there's also the issue that Sauron could.
Sauron's already a Melinar, right? Isn't he already like a demigod?
Yeah, but he wants to be like a full god, I guess. He wants to be like a Valar. I don't know. But I don't know. I have a strong feeling this is not Sauron. This is like another imposter or another Sauron candidate that the showrunner's just like, ooh, is this Sauron?
I don't know. This just feels like a brainy character.
It's Logain. He is the Dragon Reborn.
What was that?
Nice.
He is the Sauron Reborn.
He's Logain.
He is Logain.
Yeah, Logain. Yeah, he's Rogaine. Anyway, so they let the Black Elf dude go, and then Theo goes get food from that village, and the orcs find him, and he hides in a well. And they don't think to search the well. He just looks in the well when he goes underneath. Like the oldest trick in the book, like the orc should have known that he was like holding his breath. And he just sat there with like his hands. He's like he should have sat there with like
look there for a minute.
Yeah, he just sits there looking over the well.
The Vat episode in Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah. He's like tapping. He's like twiddling his thumbs, watching the rain.
They're just sitting there talking about it like this life story.
Yeah, like the orc couldn't wait like 30 more seconds just to make sure, or you can like throw like a spear in the water.
I mean, you saw
that
earlier.
He doesn't need the boy alive; he just needs the hilt.
You saw that earlier, right?
Luckily, the boy was hiding.
When the boy was hiding and like an orc smelled him, and then the orc gets called away. I'm like, oh no, I smell a human. I might want to check this out. I'm only 3 feet away from this log pile. I should probably look behind it.
Mask his scent, but still.
Yeah.
Lazy writing.
That was beforehand.
Besides that,
you want to talk about something hilarious? Let's talk about lazy writing. So like he sneaks out, right? And you think he's gonna get away, and then gets caught. And I'm just spoiling. I'll let you go through all this.
Yeah.
But I want to point out, if he had waited 5 more minutes in that well, the sun would have risen, and this whole thing could have been avoided.
That's true, because right when they leave the forest,
the sun comes out. And I'm like, oh, so he could just wait like 5 more minutes in that well and then just completely avoid like this whole disaster.
Well, Major, he would have been really pruny.
Well, 5 minutes. He should have been
get like what trench
foot?
foot?
Super pruny anyway. Shivering cold. What if he like
trench foot sucked in Vietnam? Imagine how bad it is in like the medieval time.
What if he just like
Middle Earth?
defecated in their well water and just slowly poison them that way, kill all the orcs.
That's called an aqua dump, and those were very prevalent at camp. Tip knows.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt. I just
Tip's
want to point out that
aqua
this whole
dump
thing could have been
expert.
avoided with some patience.
No, I never had the.
This mic's going in and out.
You got to clinch. It's probably best this is being edited out. You know, it's probably best he's being drowned out. But yeah. Well, so what was the ending of the episode? Like the guy grabs his arm and he's just like, "You know about Sauron?" So apparently the
see
one dude
like
who in the
the
village
hilt.
is a Sauron
He's definitely-
lover.
Oh yeah, he's got
Sauron
those scars.
Yeah, what do y'all think that hilt is? The magic hilt that
Guess
sort
you
of-
give
it's
it
like a
blood and it gives you a sword.
Yeah.
It's like they're tipped to do a lightsaber, but not really. It's a
No,
smoke
fuck
saber.
you. It looks
Except it
cool.
costs blood
No,
when you
it looks
use
cool,
it.
man. Like, don't joke on that. Like, this shit doesn't have a lot going for it. But like, whenever that hilt gets formed, or whenever he stabs himself with that hilt and that sword gets formed, I'm like, yeah, good use of visual graphics here. Like, that looks cool. But yeah, it is like a lightsaber.
What if
Yeah.
that didn't work and it was all just a guess and it was
He just stabs
I
himself
don't
and then
know.
nothing happens, and then the orc slices his head off.
Yeah, I was like, it's mine
But so
now.
Adar
So,
definitely
yeah,
knows.
a lot of inanimate objects.
Adar definitely knows what's up now, right? Like, they know that the hilt, like the tower has the hilt. So you guys think that
Well, he was going to attack them anyway
ultimatum-
if they didn't surrender anyway.
Well,
So
if they
now
didn't
he knows
surrender,
where to send all
but-
the orcs.
But now he can just fucking attack them anyway. Yeah, I guess no. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Well, it
Forrest.
seems like
Nothing
this
matters.
hilt-
Nothing matters. Either surrender the Holt or die anyway. So it's a good point. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
it was just convenient. Anyway, let's move on to House of the Dragon. Unless you have any other final thoughts on Rings of Power, have we have we sparked your interest in watching it, Matt or Tip? I guess not.
No, of course not. Well, we're gonna turn you around.
Hey,
on
the last
this-
four episodes
this House
could
of
be
Dragons.
really, really good. You never know. Still
And we
can't
don't hear you, Tip.
Anyway, so House of the Dragon, Matt. Why don't you walk us through what happened? Because I haven't seen it yet.
So, like I said, it's all about who's sexying whom.
Okay. Oh, don't spoil anything for Tip. You haven't seen House of the Dragon either.
He said we didn't spoil anything for him.
Oh, okay. I think he's already read
we're good.
Silmarillion or whatever. So yeah, House of the Dragon.
The high level story is that they finally find the hand of marriage for the Princess Rhaenyra, and it's Lord Corlys' son who, surprise, surprise, doesn't like the ladies. And then there's a big feast.
Yeah, he's already got a boyfriend.
And,
Is his boyfriend Kristen Cole?
No.
Okay.
and the queen is upset because she
Okay.
knows that shenanigans happened and she's not, and Rhaenyra's not pure. Why that matters?
And how about
Never really.
how she got that information out of the night? She just didn't name any names. She didn't know it was him.
Well, she was leading up to it. Christian Cole's just a paper handing bitch over here. She's like, look, I heard some things happen with the queen, and she thinks it's about
she
Damon.
had no idea.
And then he's like, I slept with her. I'm so sorry. Please don't
Just
kill
let
me.
it go.
And she's like, interesting.
She totally. She was not leading up to that. Was just
Like,
trying to get
this is
information about
such a
Damon.
You just wanted to brag about
deal. This is such a big deal.
He
Bastard,
just waited. He just waited for a name, or at least
right?
he wouldn't have had to give that up. But
And the queen finds out by Clubfoot, who is Strong's. Strong is now the hand.
Hand of the king.
One of
Yeah.
his sons who happens to like, haven't you noticed this? But basically, we start. The king is on a ship, and of course, he's sick once again. And he has to go to an island where he's disrespected once again. And says, here, I'm going to marry my daughter to your son. Cool. Let's go back and have a party. And then the whole thing is like,
This
who
is
likes whom and why?
I think this is like best case scenario for Ramirez, right? Like this is like, they talk about it. They make a little pact on the beach. You see them walking, and they hint with metaphors first. And I pause and I
Goose in the dark.
explain to my wife, and then like they took like a whole Avengers Endgame approach where they explain it the first time, and then they explain it the second time, and they're super blatant, obvious about like the third time. Like the first time, she's like, "I think we like different things. Like I like turkey, and you like ham." And Ali Paz, I was like, "Yeah, he's gay, by the way." And then like later on, like their parents are like, "Our kid does weird things," and the dad's like, "It's just a phase." And then like 2 scenes later, it's like, "That guy's super gay." It's like, oh no, we get it. We get it, show writers. You don't have to be like in our face. Like I enjoy some subtlety in my Game of Thrones. But like this is like best case scenario. He fucks.
It's nice. It's nice when the show it's nice when the show provides the spark notes in the actual show.
Right? It's very
helps.
Or how they were explaining her green dress. But I wouldn't have thought that though.
The thing is, though, it's her dad, because he's disrespected because he's asked to step down his hand, is the one that plants the seed in her head that will eventually lead to the rebellion that happens, because her dad doesn't really care about her. He cares about her son taking the throne.
Yeah.
And it's like the wrong people are whispering in her ear, and then the fact that she comes out wearing green, and it's just like, who gives a fuck? This is so boring, and nothing's actually happened. I would rather go back to Damon Master running through another army, even though it looks really stupid, than what I saw the night before.
Just a 15
you
minutes
don't
short battle
with Damon's wife, who accidentally fell off her horse and cracked her skull.
Weird move for Game of Thrones to cut away from the head bashing. I was like, oh, we're about to see someone's head get bashed, and then it cut away. Yeah, and I was like,
they
cowards!
cut away to like chopping a fish.
Cowards! I was like, old Game of Thrones would have shown that head smashing.
And then Damon goes, "What is it? I'm single again."
So you think he would have just kept on walking away?
Yeah, I think he would.
I don't think he was walking away if she didn't yell that last remark there.
Yeah, I don't think he was looking to kill her. But I don't know the character that maybe that's on the show writers. I don't know the character enough at this point to know.
Still on the way to that rock. Just walking away.
No, I think what they were trying to imply that she would eventually succumb to her injuries anyways. And
then, she was definitely dying.
Yeah, she was definitely dying, and basically that she knew she was going to die, and she wanted to get one last insult in. So
let me ask you guys this. So they mentioned at one point that they never consummated the marriage, which means they didn't bone on their wedding night or subsequently afterwards. So one, the marriage is even technically complete. So he doesn't really have a claim to the Riverlands if anyone else knew about that, which I'm sure she told someone in the last 10 years that her and her husband never banged. But this is just another case of Damon not having sex with a girl, right? We saw that in episode 1 with his mistress. We saw in the last episode with Ramirez, and then we hear about it this episode. And I mean, 3 times is enough to flag some kind of alarms as a literary reference that hey, pay attention to this because we mentioned it 3 times. What do you guys think?
He's Damon. He just likes killing people.
No, he wants a Targaryen because
that's it.
Yep.
All part of it. All part of his plan to take over the Stepstone.
Yeah, well, it's like Targaryens marry other Targaryens, so he's just trying to keep it in the family.
How good is Patty Clemens in this show? That's the actor who plays Viserys, King Viserys.
You mean Viserys?
Oh yeah, Viserys. Yeah,
you mean Patty Constantine? It's like Constantine, but...
What'd I say?
Are you excited for the new Constantine movie? No, I don't go for that segue yet. I mentioned it earlier. But yeah, he's good. I think he's great. I've only ever seen him in Hot Fuzz. So it was interesting that he was made the lead.
I think the acting's really good. Matt brings up a good point where when your climactic moment that you're leading up to the cliffhanger on the end of the episode is Alicent walking in with a green dress on, and you're like, oh shit, like this means war. Like, whereas old Game of Thrones, like the Red Wedding was like, oh shit, like this means war. You
and
know,
that's another thing that upset me too, is like all the articles that people are writing is like, this reminds fans of the Red Wedding. It's like Kristen Cole beat and killed one dude. This is nothing like this is if this was a Dothraki wedding, this would have happened 10 times over.
Right?
So this is nothing. This is not Red Wedding level surprise. Oh, he got threatened that his secret will get exposed, so he took care of it and then was gonna kill himself.
Yeah. And like let's not forget in the previous episode when Rhaenyra was just going around on her little courting tour to try to find a man, right? Like we saw one kid kill another kid, right? So like it's like her, like that's the same death count, the same body count as her wedding night. So it's not shocking or impactful. It definitely was nowhere close to a red wedding.
Well, what does that happen in?
I'm like, this is a soap opera. It's been a soap opera for the last 2 episodes. You know, I feel like I'm watching Days of Our Lives or something. I'm not watching
Dragons
anything.
of Our Lives.
Yeah, it's
All My Dragons.
I remember how in the first episode I criticized the random gratuitous violence for the sake of gratuitous violence, because they had to introduce the court and the intrigue. I think they've gone in like the exact wrong, opposite direction, where it's like political intrigue for political intrigue, and you know, fuck the gratuitous violence. Like I'm almost begging for the gratuitous violence at this point.
It's a special formula, right? Like Game of Thrones nailed most of that formula.
Oh, sit back down, please. Anyway,
luckily, this is just a podcast.
Yeah. So, so episode 5 was not much better than the previous episodes. I mean, I think it'll be interesting enough for me to keep watching. I mean, the production value on this show is very good, much like it is of Rings of Power. So at least it's like nice to look at, but not much personality. You're saying?
I will say this.
I will say this really quick. It was still a lot less. It was better than Rick and Morty last night. So I will say that.
We can talk about that.
I actually, I still haven't seen
I will say this.
I watched it.
It feels like things are about to go down. It feels like things are ramping up. Like House of Dragons has been slow, but it feels like things are not necessarily this next episode, but the second half. It seems like a roller coaster where like we've been like building up, and we're about to go over the edge. We're just tipping over. Now the next episode we're gonna tip over, and then all hell is gonna fucking break
Are y'all
loose.
gonna miss the actresses who play Alicent and Rhaenyra because they're gonna be recast?
I think they're fantastic. Honestly, I can't think of a single bad actor on this show. Right? Like even Matt Smith is just really taking this Damien character and nailed it, or at least I really enjoy his portrayal of it.
Well, you know, do you think people are going to be upset that the actresses are going to be replaced next episode? Do you think there's going to be an outcry? Or
no one talks about the way Lena was replaced in this episode.
They what?
What's happening?
Nobody talked about that at all. No one even noticed that Lady Lena is now a teenager.
I haven't looked into this. What's happening?
There's going to be like a 10-year time jump for like the next episode.
yeah.
Was that Lord Corey's?
I did see that
daughter?
preview there.
Yeah, Lord Corliss's daughter.
Yeah, I noticed that, but I just
when she was
didn't
introduced
care.
to Viserys, and now she's a teenager, and they replaced
okay.
her.
Well, she wasn't like a main character though. She was kind of just like a supporting character. But
wait,
it's gonna be weird. People are gonna be upset. I think.
One second. Is that the same daughter that was supposed to be like 12 the episode before, or 2 episodes beforehand? That's the same daughter? Yeah. I thought that was like a different girl.
No, the same daughter.
Oh, she aged way more than everyone else did.
Well, it's been like 4 to 5 years, so 12 to 17.
She has She has Jack syndrome, like Robin Williams did in that one movie.
Well, you figure. So they were introduced before he married Alicent. They then get married, have 2 kids. One of the kids is now 2.
Oh yeah.
So it's 5 to 6 years easily.
Well, since Rhaenyra ages very well.
Well,
most of them age very well.
Well, Viserys not marrying the 12-year-old was definitely a save the cat moment. I guess in the show.
That was our first perv alert of the podcast. So congrats on that one.
Oh, on what?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Well, so Rick and Morty.
What'd you think, Matt? I wasn't sure if this episode was super deep and trying to be brilliant and just missed the mark, or maybe they nailed it. Maybe
all about Beth
it was super weird. Like, there's no other show on television besides Rick and Morty that could kind of do this, and there's only so many episodes. Like, this was inevitable, right? Like, there's only a matter of time before Beth hooks up with Beth, or some character hooks up with their other parallel universe self. As Rick says, with infinite universes, it's bound to happen. You do you.
So this is what I call the neckbeard episode, where it only appeases the 16, 17, 18-year-old neckbeards, or, you know, those guys who go up to college who've never actually interacted with women, because it's just so bad. It's just so fanboyish. It's just so like, what if she had sex with herself?
But what if this is like the ultimate expression of self-love, right? Like, Beth is a character who hates herself, right? And like, it is a story about her falling in love with herself in a Rick and Morty fashion, where she literally falls in love with a clone of herself.
So, sorry to go on a rant here.
Go for it.
The reason why I've hated this season so far is because ultimately Rick and Morty is a joke that they are playing on us. All right, we have consistently been told, you know, continuity and you know, writing for the fans is bad, and then this season, that's exactly what we're getting. Really, what this is them laughing at us for trying to find meaning in a neckbeard episode. Really, what it is like, oh, how can we make something this stupid sound philosophical? And how can we like find deeper meaning, when in reality they're like, let's just throw this episode out and see what happens.
I mean, that's totally fine, but like,
it's the joke.
Aren't there just like thousands of pieces of art that are just like fucking just awful shades of like one or two colors, and you stare at it and you're like, why is this art? And then some snob comes up and it's like, it's an introspective design on like the human anatomy, and you just like look back at it, and it's just like a white fucking like painting. It's like a painting with white and gray on it.
Spoiler alert.
Art. Let's make this art. Matt, I think your argument makes Rick and Morty technically art at this point.
Spoiler alert. I also fucking hate modern art. So.
Ooh. So let me ask you this. So for context for the listeners, I'm talking about like, if you nerdy guys can remember, in Daredevil, right? Kingpin loves this one piece of art, this gigantic white painting. And yeah.
And is it a painting or is it a canvas?
We just lost all our listeners who are Banksy fans, Matt. Thanks. Anyway,
tweet at Matt at Zeitgeist at Z-Zealot Podcast on Twitter. Tell them, tweet at us your favorite piece of modern art, or if you
favorite piece of Banksy art. Because he's a modern artist, I know.
I love Banksy, but I was in Raleigh, and there was one piece in this modern art museum where they took a bunch of dead mosquitoes and painted the dead mosquitoes at different like levels. So there's like millions of dead mosquitoes, and some are like piled up, and some are like not so piled up. And it's literally just this 10-foot canvas of dead mosquitoes as paint.
Right. And so you have to ask yourself, was the artist really high, or is this like an introspective like look at our society and how we're all just moths and flies to capitalism, and it's killing us, and we're being painted over? I don't know, some other bullshit. I didn't get an art class.
What'd you think of the Die Hard episode, Matt?
Right, exactly. See, like, yeah, you could smoke enough weed and turn anything into art.
So, the Die Hard episode I'm indifferent on, because I love the episodes that are self-aware.
And it's like non-continuity. They go to Lips and Chips.
Yeah, but like the fact that when they're in the Morty world, how it's not a religion, and it's totally a religion.
So, look, I feel like I lose followers every time I say this, but it's not a religion. Look, yes, I am not from this world. Yes, I am from another world outside of this existence. And yes,
He's
you're all my
grandpa.
grandsons. And it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, super like Christian, you know, 'cause God
Yeah.
says we're all his children. You know, you're all my sons. And he's like, no, so you're all
so
my
true.
grandsons, but this is not a religion. There is no God. We're in a video game. There's doubly no God here.
And he just can't get any of them to listen.
Because it does. It sounds like a religion. And you know what? Like if you
It
like,
totally does.
if you listen to like the behind the scenes, like that's what the commentary was from the writers, was that they're poking fun of religion.
You know, like that episode has depth and layers, and you know, is self-aware. And what I hated is the first episode was horrible. The second level goes to the next level and it's awesome, and then we're drugged back down with a neckbeard episode.
So I didn't like.
Were we
it.
just like Morty and
love it.
Summer just listening to the cringe?
Their reactions were
It was
pretty
so
great.
funny. It was so funny watching their reactions to it
For
all.
how much I hated that episode when they're sitting there trying to eat and
He's
everything's
just
going on in
pouring
the
salt
background.
on his. He just has a pile of salt on his food.
Or when they're playing
I
video
was
games,
cracking up.
Summer's like playing video games, and then Morty gets into it, and she's like, "When did you all of a sudden you get into super realistic video games?" And their eyes are just zoned out, like you just know they're trying to like fucking forget their life. How about
Get your
this?
own controller.
Super realistic video games, like that's a fun Rick and Morty thing. Like they set it on 10, and then they go to asteroids, and then Rick's like, "Oh, because space is mostly nothing."
Very- yeah.
It's like not realistic, like the way you think it's gonna be
Or the,
realistic.
Record
it was like Mortal Kombat, but they're trying to find each other to fight.
It starts at the beginning of their day. Like it's so funny.
It's like the bar going up, and actually, when it gets to the top, that you forget why you were even
You
fighting.
forget, like that's such a good fucking reason. And like Matt was saying, like yeah, like asteroids is so long you can record a message to your kid. Like and like that's fun. Like you turn the realism up to 10 and this super high tech space like video game console. And it's just it's literal realistic, not graphic realism. It's a good
That was funny.
concept. You're right. It's a weird thing, but like, look, they signed a contract to do 100 episodes. This was bound to happen. We're gonna get some.
We're gonna have a mix of episodes.
We're gonna scrape the bottom of
It
them.
angers me that, you know, Venture Brothers got canceled, Metalocalypse got canceled, just so they can make like these half-assed Rick and Morty episodes that even like the diehard fans like Robbie
I
aren't
don't-
enamored with.
but-
I don't
Metalocalypse
love the
was
capitalism
getting a
of
movie.
Rick and Morty before and after the episodes. Like,
Oh, when
dude,
you get there's like 2 commercials of Rick and Morty between Rick and Morty.
yeah, I'm like,
You
oh,
get,
that's
they have that God of War one, and then they got Wendy's.
At the end of the episode too, it's like this week's new Pocket Mortys are this.
Oh
Download
yeah,
our
Pocket Mortys. They have an
Mortys
app.
app.
And they even got like Christopher Lloyd to play Rick now. You know,
And
it
this
really
is-
just
this
shows
is
you how
why
popular
Every
it is.
new episode, they get a new character in Pocket Mortys.
Look,
Yeah,
I also want to say
so
this.
is
I
why,
will
too, though.
definitively like agree with Matt on this, and I think this is bullshit from the writers. Like, I have been liking Jerry's character arc, right? Jerry as like a character, not like Jerry that this specific character because we're interdimensional and stuff, right? But like we just like a strong Jerry. Like I think like when you're a show writer and you're looking for things to improve, like to make new to the TV show, like having a strong Jerry for like this season, like it was a really cool, interesting idea. And then you go back to this episode and Jerry's like talking, like just telling everyone like exactly how he's gonna kill himself with this blender that he's like
That
a
was
super
so
extra
awkward.
long. Yeah, and then
It was-
later on he like curls up into like a snail. And,
Yeah.
and Rick's like, oh, I forgot I installed that, right? And I'm like, oh, so Rick, like, so Jerry's just like a piece of shit again. Like, we're just gonna get it. Like, we're just gonna go back to season 1, Jerry. I guess we're just gonna take away all that fucking character development. So like, that was a big bummer.
To have a threesome with your wife, and one of them's a clone.
But which one?
Yeah, they don't even know.
Yeah, that was weird. So like, Mom Beth said she was the real one this episode, but Clone Beth said she was the real one like last episode, the episode before last. Also,
No one truly knows.
I thought Clone Beth was gonna be like a once a season kind of thing. I feel like is she been in like every
Space
episode? The Space Beth, yeah.
Yeah, she's been in like every episode this new
Yeah,
season.
I was like, oh, I guess she's like a
she's kind of a
mainstay.
main character.
Yeah.
I wonder
right.
if Sarah Chalk
Which I
got
don't-
like
I
double
don't
her
mind.
income or double her salary for doing 2 roles. Doubtful.
They're like, now we'll just cut your lines in half. Boom, bitch.
Because
There
you're
you go.
back in space.
That's not how it works.
Can we talk about
They
Jerry?
put
Can we
her
talk about this
saying
post-credit
E01.
scene?
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. He goes back to the Jerry breed.
And they're like, sorry,
Some Jerry's
sometimes
like to touch
Jerry's
other
come
Jerry's.
in to touch other Jerry's. And I was like, that's so funny. But that's exactly what he wanted to do. He fucking meets a Jerry by in a sketchy ass
The
alley.
Jerry. Yeah, that was
And
so
they
weird.
kiss, and then they just walk. He's like, oh, cool,
And
that's
he's
what it
like-
is.
All right, bye. Just walks away.
Wow. I guess I have a lot to look forward to, it sounds like. Well, Major, you want to plug our social media?
Yeah, you know I do. We are going to drop a link to our Discord in the description of this podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, we would love it. Super appreciate it if you gave us a like. If you could rate us 5 stars or whatever you want to, just give us a rating. Review this motherfucker in app. Or go on Twitter. You can tweet at us at Ziza Podcast. We'd love to hear what you think. I want to see some modern art being thrown our way. You know, the best of modern art, and then just send us some absolute garbage. If I don't get a tweet with
We won't know the difference.
with 10 million, touche. I will not. You're right. I will not know the difference. But if I don't get a tweet with 10 million flies taped to a canvas, I will be back next week to talk about these same television shows. So, Empty Threats, much like Galadriel and Rings of Power.
right.
Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you
You
next
go.
week.
I'm Forrest.
Major.
I'm Rabbi.
Yeah, baby.
Matt, and I see Tip there.
Live long and
yeah,
prosper.
back to him.
All right. Thanks for listening. Have a good
Live
one,
long
everyone.
and prosper.